Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. And just a side note before we get started, because I had a little bit of a snag while getting my fashion journalism degree, which I'm still getting. Don't worry, I haven't given up on my program yet. I have decided to cut back on my content, and that's because I got a big fat F in one of my journalism classes. Well, now I need to pay attention to school and quit creating content. But enough about me rambling on about my big fat F. But what's going to happen to the podcast is it's going to still be the same podcast, but one interview per week, and I'm going to try and still put it out on Tuesdays and Thursdays for you guys. But speaking of creating content, I have Dale with me. Dale, by the way, is the most bubbly personality I have ever met in my life. So without further ado, I'm going to let Miss Bubbly Personality, Dale, take it away.
Oh my gosh, hopefully my energy doesn't plummet all of a sudden and I let all of your listeners down.
That's okay, Dale. You do.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you inviting me. This is really kind of cool. This is further proof of how social media has changed the game of networking, because you and I met through Twitter, right? Yes,
we did. We did.
Very, very good. So I just want to say thanks. It's really awesome to get on here. And this is the first audio podcast I've done in a very long time. So if there's a little bit of a delay on my end of things, it's because typically I'm used to the video format where I can usually read somebody by just watching their body language.
I know you are. Because you don't do podcasts. You do video more than I do. And yes, you inspired me to do video once again after I get this journalism degree, because then I'll have more credibility. And so talk to us about the video content aspects. And I know we must have had a previous conversation, or maybe it was with someone else who is a YouTube creator, but I know you self-publish books as well.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people are wondering, am I the jack of all trades or a master of none? And you'd be correct, actually. But to a certain extent, there are two things that I do well. I can self-publish books like a madman. That's what pays the bills. That's what keeps the lights on in this house and food in our bellies. And the YouTube content creation, the video creation end of things, really hadn't started until the last year or so, after I had an interview with a gentleman of the name Dewan Bainey. He's out of Vancouver. And he contacted me after I had pretty good success with one of my books and said, hey, I want to get you interviewed. And after we were done talking, he said, you really should do videos. And I said, I will. And well, I was horrible at it at first. And as I ironed it out, I became better and better at it. And to this day now, I'm kind of like you, where I've eased off the gas a little bit, because, when you focus, wherever your attention flows, the process will grow. And of course, if you're, for instance, you're in journalism, which, by the way, there's something you and I share in common. I went to college for that, but don't be like me. I'm a dropout. You're on the right path. But, right now it's Q4 sales for self-publishing. It can be quite ludicrous. And rather than me focusing on video uploads, I've backed off a bit. I do 2 live streams per week with 1 interview per week. And the reason is that's really simple for me. About a month or 2 ago, when I went to Los Angeles for something called Vid Summit. It's essentially where video content creators get together, the best of the best in the industry of, say, YouTube, Facebook Live, Periscope. All these people came together, great minds, to talk about videos and about putting that together. And it was when I had that aha moment, because up to that point, I'm not kidding you here, Wen. I did 114 days of video uploads straight, no days off. Yeah, it was going to drive me to drink, which, by the way, I'm not a guy that does drugs or alcohol.
Yeah,
So, it was literally driving me to that point where I started going, maybe I should try Jack Daniels. It seems like a good alternative.
Yes. Yes, because doing video, I just did one this morning. Thank you very much. But doing the video is harder than people think. I mean, with these YouTube algorithms, if I could figure out YouTube, I would be a happy camper. I could figure out Facebook Live, and I can do Facebook Live quite nicely, but I can't figure out YouTube to send my less. But at the same time, people have to sit and watch YouTube or Facebook Live at their computers, and they don't want to. They don't want to. I mean, I have a fan base. I have a fan who tells me all the time with his old MacBook Pro, he can't watch my Facebook Live. And because Facebook Lives don't get out to the masses of people that we think they do, it's like pointless. A podcast is much easier, but and cutting back on the video is I'm just going to take a page from Dale's book, and I'm just going to start doing more podcasts and doing more book content than I am video content, you guys, because the ROI on Facebook, and I don't know about the ROI on YouTube, and for those of you who don't know what we just said, return on investment, I think it's going to be easier for those of us who are really good at one platform to stay on one platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's actually a conversation I was having with a good friend of mine, Kathleen Nightingale, and she found herself at a bit of a quandary because she gets a lot of she gets information from every resource. Oh, you should do LinkedIn. Oh, you should do YouTube. Oh, you should do Facebook Live. Oh, you should do Twitter. Oh, you should do, and she just has become overwhelmed. And I said, what do you feel in your heart is best for you? And I think, Wynn, you can probably relate to this. You have stuck to podcasting. That's so awesome. And I'm really happy and very proud of you to take the first step over into video production. I really love doing video production. It is fun. I love the editing part, actually, and getting it out there and actually seeing what the market reacts to. That's one of my favorite things. And, to a certain extent, it's so funny. I say self-publishing. Books is typically what I'm saying, but oddly enough, video content creation as well is self-publishing. So, if there's anything that I would say to your listeners is, and to you hopefully, if you don't mind me saying, is choose that one thing and master it and become really good at it. Become obsessed about it. There's a good reason in some of my videos you see it says self-publishing nerd. Yeah, by the way, I didn't proclaim myself that. My wife actually made that wonderful shirt, and I proudly display it everywhere I go because I'm a person that I become obsessed with trying to master it. And the funny thing is, I never will be able to become an expert or a master at it because I believe the day that you stop learning is the day you just stop growing. And to me, I just want to be able to get up every day and grow.
Yes, I do too. And it's so funny you say that because we're talking about self-publishing books and self-publishing videos. But when you think about it, I am self-publishing this podcast too. Yes, absolutely. That's really, really cool. And you've got a very, the funny thing is I'd never heard of you prior to our connection through Twitter. So I go into your catalog. Oh my gosh! Lady, you've got a vast backlog of stuff, so there's no doubt that you've got a great following. Yes. No, I try, and luckily people are really supportive of my journalism degree, and it's so funny because I'm now going back to school for journalism, people have given me more credit to be an independent content producer than before, because they know I'm getting the professional training.
Yeah, the journalism is also no joke when it goes, come to college. There's a good reason why I dropped out, because it was not for sissies. And for you to carry that workload and put out the podcast at the same time, I commend you and I applaud you, because, you are really, you're spinning a lot of plates. Hopefully you don't want to add too many plates to your load.
Yes.
Otherwise one's going to fall at some point or another.
That's why I'm cutting back on the podcast, and I'm very happy now to do. And that's why I'm not letting the school plate drop, because the school plate has already shattered. I'm just trying to pick up the pieces so I don't get myself in more trouble with my school. But that's because I want to do this, and I want a journalism degree, and I am going to publish books with it. I am going to still create content, although if I get a big job where freelance journalism is key, I can accept that big job. But right now I'm going to publish books with it and publish the podcast. But right now I have to focus on that, because I agree with you. Journalism school isn't for sissies. Journalism school isn't for sissies, no matter what journalism school you go to. And I happen to be going to one of the top journalism schools in the U.S., the Academy of Arts, and they've been wonderful to me, and now I just have to be wonderful to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you just focus, and hopefully if anybody gets anything from your podcast today, you're going to notice a couple of recurring themes is, where you're going to focus at. And if you're really, really dedicated to it, you will eventually get there. I can promise you that. And, passion is one of the greatest fuels that'll get you from one day to the next, that'll get you out of your bed, putting your feet on the floor, ready to attack the day with just a fervently crazy, rabid, what's the word I'm looking for? Passion. Let's just go back to that. Darn it all. I just got done eating lunch, so I'm.
Yes. Well, I caught you eating lunch during this interview, and someone else a couple months ago caught me eating lunch during our interview. They go, "Oh, I'm so sorry I caught you eating lunch." And that's the life of a solo entrepreneur. You eat lunch and do an interview at the same time.
Yep. You got to eat and go. You just gotta do things on the fly sometimes, and I think that's where I'm so happy about the career that I'm in. The fact that I don't feel like I have to answer to any boss, and I could be able to do things like this and have a little bit of fun, have a few laughs, and I won't lie to you. I'm not currently eating. I shoveled my face as quickly as possible, and then right as soon as you and I got on here, but I was lacking some great, awesome words. So hopefully that kind of covered things for you. So
yeah, but I want to talk to you about how you self-publish a book, because there's so many ways to skin this cat that I finally just hired a person to format my books, because I'm like, I'm done with formatting a book. I'm literally done. I'm literally tapped out, and it's like, I'm done with formatting the books. And then I am also not done with creating the books by any means. I'm just done with the behind the scenes work. I want it to be uploaded and it to be perfect. So talk to us about how you skin this cat in your game.
You're not going through an unusual experience. This is something that if anybody is listening to this, it is not uncommon to actually go through some of the struggles of how do I format things? Where do I go? Do I need an editor? Who's going to do my book cover? Do I need an agent? Do I need to get a big book deal? Let's just start out from the basics. One of the reasons why I do self-publishing with Dale L. Roberts, it's a YouTube channel as well as a website devoted to teaching people simple tips and strategies to publishing their own books. Because I don't think that it should be rocket science. We don't need to have a degree in order to actually publish a book to the world. And why would somebody want to publish a book for the world? Because there is a story in your heart, or there might be information that you have, or a skill set or a knowledge set you can share with the world that can make a huge impact, and it can make a positive impact within your community as well as the world around you. So with self-publishing, one thing that I would recommend for anybody that's new to self-publishing, keep it simple. There's going to be a lot of information, kind of like what we were saying before, where there's just so many platforms. I could do audio podcasts. I could do video interviews. I could do LinkedIn. I could do all these things. I'm just going to go ahead and break it down to the most basic, nth degree. You're going to want to start where you have the biggest advantage. And one of the biggest advantages, of course, is on the Amazon platform. Amazon doesn't pay me to tell you this. They're just the best platform to go to because they really, I think it's about, last I heard, and I'm sorry this is anecdotal, I can't be able to send you over to a report. Last I heard, I think Amazon controlled 60% of all global profits through publications. That's 60%. Good Lord, that means that is where all the big dogs are running. So if you want to really get a good start over on the Amazon platform. The very first place you're going to want to look at is Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. Stay with me for just a moment on this one here, folks, because you have the ebooks that are available on Kindle Direct Publishing, hence the Kindle, but here's where it gets a little bit confusing. Within the last year, they launched a beta program which involved the print book, the paperback book. So now you not only have ebooks, but you have paperbacks that are available through Kindle Direct Publishing. It's somewhat of a simple process. In fact, so simple that Amazon actually just launched, and this is new on your show. Hopefully you'll be able to be new elsewhere. Not too many people realize that Amazon launched a program called KDP Jumpstart. And that's for anybody that's brand spanking new. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a little bit of time out of your day. You watch a 3 to 5 minute video over the course of, let's say, about a month, and you will at least have the fundamentals and core content that you need to get started in self-publishing your books. And it doesn't require a lot of time. It doesn't require a lot of money, but it will require some patience. And also, one of the biggest things is willingness to learn. So there's going to come times, though, for instance, like you, when you have the issue with, oh my gosh, the interior formatting. You can wake me up out of a dead sleep, and I can be able to format a 20 to 30,000 word book within, I would say, easily 15 to 20 minutes. And that's just me, because I'm so used to doing this after so many years. But to the average person out there who hasn't done this before, it can be overwhelming. It can be very stressful. It can be very taxing. So one of the things I would say is, if there's any discretionary expense that you have to put towards self-publishing, hire an expert, be it a person who is an expert at interior formatting, or a graphic design artist who specializes in good book covers, because let's just face it, people do judge a book by its cover. And that's not just in the sense of, the analogy. No, this is in relative sense, because if you've got a garbage book cover, no one's going to buy it. And the very few people that buy it, it's probably not going to pay the bills. Let's just say that. You're not going to be breaking any records. So I would just say this is, if you have any discretionary expense, if you are not equipped to do something, at the very least, hire a person out to cover those things, so it makes your first upload, your first published book, much easier. Because in due time, you're going to start to learn one process at a time, and then it'll start to iron out. And before long, you'll be able to just crank things out like it's nobody's business. And that's really the thing.
Can I jump in here, Dale?
Please.
Something to give my 2 cents. My 2 cents is this. Number one, hire an editor. Because, and possibly hire a ghostwriter if you guys have the means to do it. Because every Tom and Dick and Harry will publish on Kindle, and then your book will get probably stuck in the bottom of the heap because your book is poorly edited, and Amazon won't catch that. Amazon just wants you to self-publish a book. And so hire an editor. My second piece of advice, and I agree with Dale, is hire a graphic designer if you're not good at graphic designing and don't have a degree in it, and if you don't want to do that. But hire a formatter, because all these formats are confusing. So my number one key is to hire an editor, and my second key is to hire a formatter. And you can use Dale to format your books, or there's several people out there that format books. That's all they do.
Yeah, I really can only just second exactly what you're saying. Editor, that's probably one of the common mistakes a lot of people do within the self-publishing industry. They get so excited that they finished their book. They wrote their book. Oh my gosh, I'm ready to send it out to the world. But folks, don't do that. I commend you for finishing your work. The rough draft, it's going to seem like giving birth, but you're going to find out in due time that writing the book is probably the easiest part. If you are smart, you're going to go to an editor and get a good qualified editor. Listen, your mom doesn't count as an editor, all right? That just doesn't count. You have to get an actual professional editor, because that editor is not going to just look for typos, okay? Editors are somewhat proofreaders, yes. We're going to go ahead and get that out of the way. There's a huge difference between editors and proofreaders, okay? But editors are going to see those typos. They're going to see mistakes, but they're also going to give suggestions based on, for instance, if you're doing fiction, they're going to show you plot holes. They're going to give you insights on, well, this paragraph seems a little off, or this character development is, it doesn't make sense, or your conversation is stilted. Or if you're doing a nonfiction book, for instance, my editor, love her to death, but boy, she beats the heck out of me, man. I'm telling you, I can't get away with anything without her going, well, this is a liability concern. I'm like, oh gosh, because I do fitness books, so naturally I have to be very careful about the advice I dispense to everybody. So she covers those type of things. She's able to kind of go in and say, yeah, you might want to cite your sources on this one. This one seems kind of iffy, or you're going to need to clarify this particular point. So editors are just so worth it, and they can range anywhere from as little as, and if you find somebody this cheap, I applaud you, and if they're good, that's even better. But sometimes editors will cost anywhere from about 1 cent to 10 cents per word. That's right, per word. So if you've got a 10,000 word book, you can see this is going to add up in due time. And 10,000 words, by the way, is about 30 to 40 pages. That's nothing big. So look out. If you've got a novel, it might take a little bit of time to actually get a good editor and a little bit of expense. But trust me, a good editor is well worth it. Think about your long game. It's so worth it, and it's probably one of the most underutilized things. And actually, I want to kind of go back to something you said before was, Amazon doesn't care what you put up, but they do to a certain extent. And there's actually a very interesting little button. It's called report abuse. Or there's even just a way that they can contact people. If there is something that the market perceives to be inferior quality, they can report that to Amazon. Here's the thing. No questions asked. Amazon will take your stuff down. And I've known some people that this has happened to where they will take it down and put it to draft mode, or worse yet, they've even suspended accounts for it because they don't want to have inferior things on their platform, because after all, it is kind of their product. I realize it's your book, but if it's selling on their platform, it is their product, it is their audience. So if you're giving inferior work and all of a sudden a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen complaints come in, Amazon's going to kind of listen a little bit closely because you're messing with their payday. So editors, can't say it enough. I'm going to tell you this. If there's any time, now more than ever, Amazon's really mindful about the content, especially based on the customer experience.
Yeah, exactly. And so, editors, you guys, I don't mind necessarily about the cover design. There is platforms to design covers. even Create Space has a cover designer, and they have a self-published cover designer, but editors are the key to this applesauce. Editors are the apple to the applesauce. And, yeah. And it's like, if you don't get an editor, you're up to the creek without a paddle, and you guys know the language behind that. But I'm using up to the creek without a paddle for this one. But if you guys don't get an editor, I'm sorry, I won't buy your book. I'm sorry, Dale won't buy your book. I'm sorry, your mother may buy your book because she loves you, but that's about it.
Yeah, well put. Well put. That's so funny. If anybody really needs any further details, actually, I just launched an interview with a newbie self-publisher who did it the right way, and his name's Riley Morrison. And Riley took me through the entire process, and I was so blown away and so impressed by him being a newbie self-publisher. Didn't even have his first book out, and he had everything down to the nth degree, and he did it the right way. And let me just give you a synopsis of how this ties into editing. He had a novel, and I can't remember how many thousand words it was, but it was up into the, full-length novel at this point. So he couldn't afford it. Full-time job. I actually think he carried 2 jobs, to be exact, and supported his wife and his daughter at the same time. And the biggest issue was money. So what he did was every month he allocated just a little bit of money towards his editing expenses. He would send in 1 chapter, have the editor fix that. And then as each of these chapters were coming in, he was able to make another chapter and another chapter and another chapter and fix those things as it went along. So then it was broken down into bite-sized pieces, so it was much more affordable. So that's one of the things. A lot of people think they have to get the editing done all at once. So if you find that you're cash-strapped, just one bite at a time. That's, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time. It's just that simple.
Or some editors have payment plans too.
Yeah.
Or they can actually say, this is what we're doing. Do you want this? My editor goes, do you want this? Or can you think of a better way to do it?
Right, exactly.
So basically, if you guys are cash-strapped, there's ways to work with editors. And by the way, as we're doing this interview, I just talked to my formatter, and because I gave her an old book, she's actually formatting a book for me for $50. And so I think that's wonderful. And she doesn't do editing per se. She just formats. But I know editors that also do editing and formatting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
the funny thing is,
you can use them too.
Yeah, people outside of the industry might hear something like, oh, $50. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. Hey, listen, what is your time worth? If it takes you 20 hours to figure out how to format, you're crying your eyes out, you're ready to break your MacBook Pro, and you're ready to go drive you to drink, or you can just hire somebody, $50, they go through, they fix your formatting in the less time that it took you, and you get this beautiful formatted thing. Sure, you're $50 lighter, but guess what? You're also a lot less stress. You're having a really good book, and on top of that, you're getting a quality publication out onto the market.
Even the top independent publishers have formatting experts. I know they do because I've heard them on their podcast say, I'm sending this off to my formatters. And one of the top indie writers, Joanna Penn, she even has a formatter for her books. And Dale's Dreamless, he can do it. But I'm sure, Dale, you had difficulty the first time you did it.
Oh, yeah, believe me, it's I learned things the hard way. I'm a little stubborn, and had I to do it all over again, I probably would have just skipped all that and just hired somebody to do it. But now, hey, look, I've got a great skill set, and a little less hair on top of my head.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so, yeah, now you got a great skill set. And so where can people find you, Dale? And then I'm going to let you ask me a couple questions that you want to ask me.
Yeah, so people can reach me over on YouTube, and you're just going to simply search up Self-Publishing with Dale, or you can head to selfpublishingwithdale.com. You'll be able to get all the information about where I'm at, social media that I'm engaged in, and hey, even just drop me a line over on my contact page. I do my best. I do my best. I get a hold of everybody that gets in contact with me. And as I've shared earlier in the podcast, I'm on Twitter. Just hit me up. All you got to do is just say what's up. I do pay attention really closely to anytime someone says something to me. So that's probably one of my...
You do? Yep, you do.
I got a couple of burning questions for you. So you're talking about a book. When is this book due out, and what is it going to be about?
I'm writing, I actually have a couple books in the file right now. I'm actually working on my fourth and supposed final autobiography, CP, that was not inspired by me, you guys. That was inspired by a friend of mine / my editor, who I'm now no longer working with, because she did not know how to format books, and she was a completely excellent editor, but she did not know how to actually make suggestions to this book. So now I've completely hired a new editor who, one of the services she offers is making suggestions to my books, and I feel like that's wonderful. And people have gotten publishing deals because of this editor. And no, I don't want Penguin Random Press to knock on my door unless they really, really feel like it. Otherwise, I'll take it, but I'm much happier being an independent content creator. And then I'm working on another book called The Heart of Scoliosis, all about my journey with scoliosis and CTE, but mainly focused on scoliosis, because scoliosis is one of those common disabilities that every female and male get at puberty. So now it's time for me to write my story and come out of the closet about my feelings about scoliosis. And so that book should be coming out. I haven't started that book, but that book will be coming out slowly but surely. Then my next book I'm planning to write is a book on how to write books using Siri, because you guys think that's fascinating, and it's really not. And so I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide, and it's going to be called Simply Siri, and I'm going to start writing that one tomorrow, December 1. And so look for that closer to June than anything else, because you guys need to start writing books. And Dale will probably agree with me. Everyone said, I want to write a book, but yet they don't know how to do it.
Right. I'm excited to hear exactly where you go with the direction of some of these books. It sounds like a lot of fun, especially the one on scoliosis. Yeah, definitely connect with me because I think that's some of my readers will definitely be interested in that as well. One last question here. I had one, and this is one I always love to ask people whenever I'm finishing up my self-publishing interviews is, given the choice, you have to choose one or the other. Would you pick profits or would you pick passion?
I would pick passion, even though I'm going to be making more money with my journalism degree. I'm in teaching right now, teaching young kids, but I would pick passion over profits because it's something I'm really passionate about. So I would definitely pick passion over profits any day.
Wonderful. I love that answer.
Any day. I mean, you guys know I'm a content creator at heart, and that's why I'm continuing with my fashion journalism program, and we're going to succeed at fashion journalism, and then strongly use both parts of the program, but more strongly use the journalism part than the fashion part. Although if I do get invited to a review of fashion show, I would take it in a heartbeat. So.
Nice. Awesome.
Well, Dale, I appreciate your time this morning, and I definitely appreciate you guys listening to the podcast, you guys listening to me ramble on. As far as I know, when I uploaded a podcast this morning, we have now reached 70,000 downloads and 9 downloads on Spotify, which means, yes, you can find it in Spotify. And I definitely appreciate you guys joining me on this wild, crazy goose chase of what I call butterflies of wisdom, although it's Mama Duck chasing a duckling, I think. And so I definitely appreciate Dale, and you can always find Dale at SelfPublishing with Dale on YouTube and SelfPublishing with Dale on Twitter, and tell Dale and I that you heard him on Butterflies of Wisdom. I'm at Win Kelly, Kelly Charles, and of course the @ on Twitter, and I respond to tweets quicker than I respond to a Facebook message, and I'm more active on Twitter than I am Facebook. You guys know that by now. And this podcast goes everywhere, so please share it out, and please let's make the Butterflies of Wisdom community even stronger than it already is. Thanks to you guys.
Awesome. Are we off the air?